Hello and welcome to screenPLAY. I'm Nick.
And I'm Steph.
And this is our E3 wrap-up. E3 has happened this week.
It has.
We've seen all of it. Now we're wrapping it up. The plan is to go through each press conference and then at the end, just focus on the shit that no one really cares about. And we're going to see who won, what we loved and what we didn't.
Everyone always wants to know who won.
I know.
Who won the press conference?
You know who won? You know who really won?
Games.
No, the people who own the convention center.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so they're the real winners. We started off with EA. EA, Steph, I mean, I know that EA make a bunch of games that you love.
I usually tune it. It's my, like, when I've been over at E3 and I'm super jet lagged, it's usually my opportunity to just go like this. Micro sleep, you know?
Boom, EA.
It's just because it tends to be a bit of a Madden fest, you know, and a whole
Yep.
bunch of, like, you know, sport games that I'm not great at. So.
That's very interesting because I, for the first time this E3, I was really pumped for the sports games.
Okay.
Because you know how last year I got into FIFA and Madden?
I'm like looking at you with fear in my eyes, being like,
Who are you?
Whoa.
I really got into FIFA and Madden last year, and now I've seen that they're putting more of that single-player story stuff in the games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of into it. Even though it didn't work amazingly, the journey in the last FIFA game, I feel like they've learned some lessons and improved.
Yeah.
I'm back. It's a very weird feeling.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I find that, like, it's generally not my thing, but I always agree that story makes stuff better, but then I feel like a bit of a wanker for being like, you know what sport games need? More narrative.
Yeah, totally. But what about like the Star Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars looks cool.
Yeah.
Again, because there's a story mode in it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I really loved Battlefront. I thought it was a lot of fun, but I just felt like I got over it really quickly. So I think putting a single player campaign in there will just give it some more longevity. So.
It was very weird the end of that press conference though, where they just played the game for half an hour with shoutcasters. Like that was not a good way to show that off. That just felt like long and boring and like watching a game where you're not having fun.
So they're trying to push it as a competitive thing. And,
Yeah.
And they're just like, look how cool this could be in a competitive environment.
Best part about that game, the actress who played it, who was like hosting that event.
Oh, yeah.
She was so good. She was so charming. She should do all of it all the time. A Way Out, that co-op like prison break thing, that looked amazing. I'm so in for that.
Yeah, me too.
That I loved. Brothers, I really loved that first game by that studio, and this being like true co-op where you're basically playing two separate games within the same universe and like going towards the same point. I loved it. It was like Hitman, but prison escape.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anthem looked really cool as well.
Yeah, well, that tease, I mean, I cannot imagine how much money Microsoft paid for EA to only just hint at their own game in their own press conference and then save it for the Microsoft, like the big reveal for that. But yeah, that was a good little tease. Like Horizon, I was excited.
Yeah, plus, you know, I love a fantasy world that's divided by a wall.
Interesting.
George R. R. Martin did it.
Yep.
Terry Goodkind did it.
Yep.
It works.
There's some walls in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're more surrounding buildings, like not necessarily like going across the whole thing.
I wouldn't just reference all the games that have walls in them. I just mean like a wall, like dividing the whole land, and you can't cross it.
Moving on to Microsoft's press conference, Stephanie, the Xbox X.
I mean, I feel like Microsoft was pretty underwhelming overall as a press conference. My biggest takeaway from the Xbox One X is that it's if you have a One S. Probably not worth getting a 1X. If you have a 1 and you're super excited about 4K
and you don't have a PC
then yeah, maybe invest in what will be 650 Australian?
An insane amount of money.
It's a lot.
So much money for something that is only upwards. I mean, I thought, you know, they're touting the most powerful console of all time. I went, oh, maybe this will be the next generation bump. And they'll go, oh, the X is actually all new platform and make Sony catch up. If not that, make it at a price where Sony are forced to sell their PS4 Pro at a lower price or something, because, you know, that's not doing amazingly for them. But it was just like super expensive and kind of pointless.
Yeah, I mean, I think the general consensus is it's a very much optional purchase. Plus it has the same controller and everything, so it just doesn't feel like I'm super excited to get this unless I'm also going to be super excited about shelling out for a 4K TV and just have no money left for food.
The only thing is it's smaller than all the other Xbox Ones. So it's like they've
internal power.
Yeah, and it's smaller than the S, and so you go like, okay, you've just continued to fix the mistake that was the size of the Xbox One in the first place. So I guess that's worth $650?
Games.
Games.
Middle-earth Shadow of War.
Oh, love me a Cockney Orc.
finds out, which I like
How
to do
charming was
anyway.
that orc?
Yeah, he was great.
He was like a Guy Ritchie orc.
Name's Bruce. From here on out, I will be your shadow.
Can I just say though, still has nothing on douche.
Still has nothing on douche. Oh, is that the orc that like?
It was that guy that found an orc called douche.
Called douche.
And then like made him a captain.
Yeah, constantly like promoted him throughout the ranks. Yeah.
So then he would be like douche.
Yeah. Well, it has no, but imagine that, but in a Cockney accent. Do it.
I found douche.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that was so, the dialogue, the writing there, the gameplay we'd already seen, you know, some of that stuff before. I'm super pumped for that game, but I love the personality they put in the orc. If only they put some of the personality in the main character. He just looks so boring compared to that orc.
I know. I mean, I feel like a lot of the characters in the Lord of the Rings universe are kind of very straight down the line, and they have to be very noble and all that kind of thing. But
it's all the walls
the Nemesis
everywhere.
system was so cool in Shadow of Mordor, so I'm like looking forward to seeing how they expand that even further in Shadow of War.
Totally. What I do have questions about is Sea of Thieves. So Sea of Thieves, I'm still wondering like what the point of this game is.
Yeah, me too.
The demo, it looked totally fine, and I can see how it would be lots of fun if you're playing with like a fun group of people. I think the group of people you have to play that game with are people who like to make their own fun in games, but it really felt like an MMO from 10 years ago. And the quests and stuff were like, oh, go to this island and find this piece of treasure and then go back to your boat. And it's like, that's nice, but it's not compelling. It's kind of like, it's content. You know what I mean?
I think the thing is, you know, there is certainly love for pirates out there.
There is.
The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise has now hit, what, 5, 6 movies?
I mean, I've seen 2.
And Black Flag was the best of the Assassin's Creed games.
Correct.
In my opinion.
I think in most people's opinion.
But Ubisoft have made like kind of a version of that that's going to be multiplayer, and that's
Yeah, that looks like sick boat pirate action.
So because of that, I have zero interest in Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I know. I want to believe, but I don't. So moving on now to Anthem, which was teased in the EA press conference, but we saw the big reveal here. I mean, can games get more beautiful right now?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
I don't know. It looks so amazing that I'm actually worried about the amount of content that's in that game, because I go, how can you make deep, varied, interesting content that all looks this incredible, that runs this way, that looks sort of this organic? I mean, there's a storm that happens at the end of that trailer. I'm like, is the storm always there? Does the storm only happen in that location? Does that storm happen at different points around this world?
Yeah, it looks beautiful. And I mean, just any kind of game that showcases its world building, I'm already like on the hook.
Absolutely. I hope there's good solo options for it though, because like I play Destiny by myself and I get bored very quickly. I know I should play it with people, but I don't. No one wants to play with me. And so I'm hoping that, you know, Anthem has some good...
No, I'm not gonna play.
That's what happens every time. The last thing I loved from the Microsoft press conference was Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh yeah. That was a tough game, the first one.
Oh, that was brutal. It was
Blind
brutal.
Forest?
It was emotionally brutal and mechanically brutal. But yeah, that was... there were owls that... All the owls are dead. In this game, every owl is dead. There's one owl. He's not dead. He's definitely sick though. He does not look good. He could die of a broken heart. It was so tragic. I'm so excited for that game. Ori is one of my favorite games that's come out in the last 10 years, so...
A franchise that I really love is Life is Strange,
Yep.
which is now a franchise because
Yep.
they've announced a prequel and a sequel.
Yeah, that franchise, it's a regular Pirates game.
However, Ashley Birch, who voiced Chloe,
Yep.
is not coming back to reprise the voice of Chloe because of the voice actor strike.
So they got a scab?
I think so.
They got a scab?
I mean, good on her for you know, sticking
For
up.
scabbing?
For scabbing.
Oh, you mean good on Ashley?
Yeah, good on
oh,
Ashley.
right, yeah.
Good on
yeah.
Ashley for sticking up for you know, voice actors' rights and all that kind of thing. But you know, for a story-based game with a
There's really only one thing, and it's characters.
yeah, it's gonna be really jarring, I think, for a lot of people who are huge fans of that game to have, you know, that character voiced by someone else.
That is so interesting, because I think, with the exception of Nolan North in Uncharted, I don't think I've ever remembered how a character sounds from game to game. Like, you could have changed Ezio's voice 7 times between the 14 Assassin's Creed games that he came out, and I would have no idea unless you played them side by side.
Yeah, right.
But you remember that stuff.
Yeah, well, I think because you spend so much time, you know, conversing with those characters, and I think people as well really related to the relationship between them and all that kind of stuff. So it makes a big difference. I think it makes a big impact when someone is. It's like if my voice just suddenly changed tomorrow and
You just got like a really deep one.
Hi.
See, I don't think I would notice. You just sound exactly the same to me.
Unless my scab voice was really good.
That's true. You could do good scab impression. Sorry to the voice actors who would keep calling us scab, but you shouldn't have scabbed. Finally, a huge reveal there. The crowd was very excited. Original Xbox games backwards compatibility. I mean, I don't care. Do you care?
No, I mean, I never had an original Xbox. I started with a 360.
But so theoretically, you should care because you could play all those sick 10-year-old games.
But do I want to?
No, you don't. The crowd loved it though. It's one of those things that Microsoft, really good fan service. Sony had come out like a week or so before going, oh, no one really plays that stuff, and so it's a nice idea, but we're not going to do it. And then Microsoft was like, bam, here you go. Even though I've seen statistics of it, and such a small percentage of people play it, but it's like.
And I'm as far as I'm aware, it's quite difficult to implement that backwards compatibility as well. So for them to do it is...
Yeah, I mean, it shows good dedication to those old games that we don't want to play anymore because there's all these new ones announced at E3. Like a Bethesda.
Yes. So here's my question about the Bethesda press conference.
Yep, hit me.
Does the world need
No.
Doom VR? I would argue not.
Right. I would argue yes, if it happened when Doom came out.
Right, yeah. Do
you know
we need
what
to
I
go
mean?
back? What about Fallout though?
Exactly the same point. Like
Or
these.
Skyrim?
I mean, come on, guys. Pete, I know how much you love Skyrim and how much you're gonna want to cut this bit because I'm talking about how Skyrim shouldn't be on every single console and microwave. It's time to let it die. No one can. It was a great game. It still is a great game. Make a new one. Adding VR to
I mean, there's something to be said with the fact that a game like that endures, and if you love it that much and you want to immerse yourself in the world of Skyrim, I guess. Yeah, but that's an open world game where you are playing a character that you've created yourself, and you can, there's a big difference, I think, in embodying a character that you've created yourself in an open world environment and Doom.
I feel like you just hate Doom, Stephanie.
It's like, I loved original Doom because
Yep.
it was one of the first games I ever played, really, like properly at my uncle's place, and
Sneak downstairs and play Doom.
yeah. But my uncle's a huge nerd. It was awesome.
What a dog. Hey, Uncle Steph.
But new Doom in VR just seems like it would just be like a bloodbath. Like
Yeah, it would be. There'd be a lot of gushing.
raining on you.
Yeah, I mean, the VR stuff, I would like that when it's in the new games. Bethesda didn't have, I wonder whether or not Bethesda needed a press conference this year. They totally warranted it for Fallout 4. When they announced Fallout 4, it was like, bam, here we go, here it is. And then everything since then has been like, yeah, this is the Bethesda games, I guess, but we're talking about Bethesda, so it's working. The big takeaway from that press conference, though, for me, was Wolfenstein 2. I actually loved the first Wolfenstein. It's a shooter that I think is really clever. Tonally, it's funny, and it's sad, and it's scary, and it's sexy, and it's got great action. This is the cinematic trailer for this was fantastic as well.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that game.
And there's Dishonored 2 as well, so they have a few good sequels in there. And they also announced that they're going to be introducing paid mods as well to Bethesda games.
Yep.
Which, I don't know, I think it's just kind of cool that they're embracing the mod community and kind of making that a thing rather than being like,
We don't like mods.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. Moving on now, Ubisoft was next.
Mario Rabbids?
Yeah, it's Mario XCOM.
It's a weird blending
It's
of
super
worlds.
weird. It's super weird. It's like Mario and the most annoying characters in video games ever. It's like Steph and Nich. It looks like Mario XCOM.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really your jam, right?
Not really, but I mean,
Yeah.
I like when I see two things merging worlds.
Yeah, right. But did you see the photo of the developer?
Oh, very emotional.
I retweeted this thing that was like, anytime you feel the need to mock Mario and Rabbids, is you look at this picture of the man who worked so hard on the game, he started crying when they announced it. It was so beautiful. But you can hate that guy's game. We can let him know. We'll find his Twitter account and send his video.
I haven't played it yet, so it could be great.
It could. It will be great. Well done, crying man.
Bizarre. Of course, it wouldn't be a Ubisoft press conference without an Assassin's Creed game.
Absolutely.
This one's set in Egypt.
Oh yeah.
And it's called Origins.
Oh baby.
Because there's got to be an origin for every game.
Well, technically
and
that's
every
true,
character.
right? Well, yeah. You have to start somewhere. If this doesn't start with the birth, literally.
Sick of the word origins.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded a lot like Assassin's Creed Chronicles, which was their sort of like side-scrolling action platformer ones.
Yeah,
It's
right.
kind of like in Origin. You're right. It's a buzzword that's been used. What do
Yeah.
you think about the game though? Because you're an Assassin's Creed Supergirl.
Yeah, I've played a lot of Assassin's Creed games.
She has.
And every time I say, you know what? I'm over it. This time I'm not going to do it.
She's not.
Sucked back in.
Egypt?
You know what? I like the historical settings, and every time and I love to travel. So when they put it in some awesome part of the world, like Egypt that I've never been to, I want to go there.
Yeah.
And then I want to go there in real life and be like, I've been here digitally and in real life.
And I got arrested because I tried to climb the pyramids.
Did that in France. That was cool.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went and took photos of myself and then like matched them up to like game screenshots.
So for you, Assassin's
Because I
Creed
am that much of a nerd.
is just digital tourism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cool though, because there were things that I found in the game that I didn't know existed, and then when I went there in real life, I was like, thanks Assassin's Creed for showing me this awesome thing.
So you're excited about this game, or are you excited about going to Egypt?
Like a bit of both. I don't know. The thing is, you just get fatigued with those games. Like as soon as you like see that map pan out, and it's like,
God, I
here's your
hope
5,000 freaking things to collect, and here's
Stop
your
putting icons.
million towers to unlock, and
Yep.
like dudes to stalk and stuff like that. I do like the idea that you can kind of go out into the eyes of the eagle though.
Yeah.
And, like,
it's
get-
basically a drone.
Yeah.
That eagle
bird,
is a drone.
Bird drone.
Yeah. I am not excited. I will play it.
So you won't be shelling out for the $800. Oh, that's a US price. I think it's actually like $1,250 here, collector's edition.
Oh no, I'll buy that because that sounds great. I just not excited for the game at all. The Crew 2 was announced. They couldn't even nail driving in the Crew 1, and now they're trying to do driving, flying, boating, and off-road driving. So they're making 4 games in one. Well done, Crew people. I like your muxie. We also had Skull and Bones, which we spoke about.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it looks really cool. So yeah, as we said, I think it's the best parts of Black Flag's ship combat made into a multiplayer.
Removing the worst parts of Black Flag, which was the Assassin's Creed stuff.
Collecting all of those treasure chests
Yeah.
on tiny little islands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really cool because the ship combat was so much fun in that game. So a whole game of it and playing online with actual real people, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I want to see how it works. The one thing, I think it's going to require so much team coordination. Like, boats are clunky and slow and hard to move, and there's a lot of, like, ramming people and focusing on frigates and that sort of thing that your team is going to have to really work together.
Are you saying this because you feel like you and I won't work together when we play as a team?
I have total faith in you and me. I just don't believe the 3 people online who are going to be playing with us. I think they're going to let us down.
There's also another Far Cry game.
Yep, there is.
I like Far Cry. I don't love Far Cry, but this one actually looks the most terrifying yet because that like crazy, hectic religious group.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things where I when we first saw that trailer, I said, oh, I'm worried about how Far Cry is going to deal with this very hot political topic right now with some sense of sensitivity. And I got sort of, like, blasted on Twitter for that, like, stop judging a game by a trailer, stop hating things. And then I watched the gameplay, I'm like, yeah, this looks like just Far Cry having fun in a world that you're framed around this really kind of horrific, real subject matter. It's very scary.
Yeah,
it's
it
very
looks
scary.
super scary. And I just think anytime you create a villain that feels justified in their motivations in a really
Like a good villain. Yeah, I know.
crazy way.
I know.
Yeah.
Damaging. And then the last thing at the press conference was Beyond Good and Evil 2. I guess this means I need to play Beyond Good and Evil?
I've played it actually because they released a remastered version of it.
Right.
Because I hadn't played it before that, and I had no idea what a huge fan following it had
Yeah.
until then. And so seeing like the original version next to what they're going to be releasing.
Next to what this is, I know.
Whoa.
It's so different.
Whoa.
Although this is still, I mean, they announced the sequel so long ago with a CG trailer, and this is multiple years later. I think it's nearly 10 years later? I think it's nearly 10 years later, and we're now seeing another CG trailer, no gameplay. I read a theory that the Vivendi deal is basically going through with Ubisoft, and they're going to be taken over. And this is
Right.
Ubisoft's way of going, screw you guys, now you have to make this game. Like, we announced it, look how excited people are, we have not made a frame of gameplay, it's up to you, $150 million.
That's amazing. Do you
Yeah.
think it'll work?
I still predict we never see this game. I think this game will never come out. This is the new Half-Life 3.
It's happened before.
It has happened before, and it will happen again. Moving on.
Prey 2. Prey 2?
Prey 2, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, I know. But do you remember that game? Looked awesome?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Prey 2 looked awesome, and then it disappeared, and now it came back as Prey. Totally separate
Completely
world,
different, yeah.
completely different, very weird. Sony. Sony was next.
Yeah.
What do we like?
If we're talking about winners, I would say probably Sony won.
In terms of press conferences?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Even though some people were like, it's underwhelming, but I think when everything else was underwhelming,
Yeah, it's just, it was slightly more whelming than everything else.
Slightly better, yeah. So God of War.
Mm-hmm.
I am super obsessed with Norse mythology and anything Viking related.
Vikings.
So I'm really, really loving that they've chosen to go in a completely non-Greek direction with this game and set it in it, because very few games are set in a Viking world.
I know, they're so rich.
It's so cool. Vikings are hot right now.
I am very excited for God of War. I think the combat looks amazing. I think the chaining together of that stuff looks really good. I feel like there's a huge emphasis on story here with that little boy. That little boy is going to teach Kratos some lessons. I predict as well, I mean, the little boy's definitely going to die. You can't let that boy live. And then Kratos just gets angry about his dead family all the time. I mean, that is his shtick.
He is the revenge guy.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how the revenge guy is as a dad. I think that the story will be he's not a good father. Like, it's weird. It would be weird to take this person who's just like so hell-bent on anger and vengeance and stuff, but actually go, oh no, he was actually a really good dad, because that's not how that works. No. Like, you're not a sensitive guy who becomes a rage-filled murder maniac.
Kratos is a really good fighty guy and a really good orgy guy.
Dude does good orgy.
Yeah. A game that I'm really excited about is Detroit Become Human.
Oh yeah.
Because I just love anything that toys with the psychology of AI and like what we define as human.
Yep.
And I know David Cage can be a little bit hit or miss, but I've actually really enjoyed his games, and I love what he does with narrative and storytelling in games, and how he's, I would say, changed the industry as a whole.
I love that he tries. I love that he tries to do this sort of stuff. Like, I don't mean that as a backhanded compliment.
Sure,
I mean, like his games are always games that I will play because I'm going, you're trying to do something with narrative that other people aren't. And I don't think you have ever 100% succeeded, but I think you have 70% succeeded most of the time.
I think there was a moment in Beyond Two Souls where Ellen Page was at a bar with some skeezy dudes.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, the skeezy dude was like, wanna play a game of pool? And I was like, hell no. And so I hit no, and she was like, no thanks. And then he was like, oh, come on, just one game. And then she just automatically goes, okay. And I was like, why did you give me the opportunity to say no if she's just gonna say yes anyway, because the narrative needs to drive it in that direction?
That path was always the one you needed to head.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Become Human, you know, makes your choices have more weight.
I actually love that moment where they pulled out of the screen and you saw the sort of decision tree and you saw all the different options that could be taken, and I went, oh yeah, this looks as though if the decision tree can be trusted, there is actually a huge amount of variance here in terms of where I can take the story. Shadow of the Colossus remaster remake. That looked good. People were excited. Yeah. I think it looked beautiful.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, it continues to be one of the most like emotional and affecting games, I think, for people.
I hope it remains that after they play the remaster, and you know, it doesn't lose anything for people. And then Sony closes the press conference with Spider-Man. And Stephanie, I cannot describe the feelings. Web everywhere. It was so good.
I didn't know you were such a big Spider-Man fan.
It was so good! The combat looked amazing, the agility of Spider-Man, the time slowing to make it, you know, to really get the sense of he sees things that happen, you know, as they start to happen, he can get away from stuff. There were quick time events in there, but I think they did them really well. And then that scene that was just basically like a cool fight scene turned into Uncharted Jeep in Uncharted 4 style across a city, huge sequence. It blew my mind. So
just quickly, a few other things from the Sony press conference. COD World War II.
Yep.
You know, it's rare for me to get excited about a COD game, but I really enjoyed Battlefield 1, so I think taking it to
taking it back?
Not Modern Warfare.
Yep.
Yeah, is really awesome. And also 2 great DLCs are dropping. Horizon the Frozen Wilds. Loved Horizon. We'll always play more of it. And probably the thing that I'm most excited about out of all of E3, which is saying a lot given that this is DLC for a game that and it's already been announced, it's not even like a new announcement of E3, was Uncharted The Lost Legacy.
I mean,
Chloe was my favorite character in the Uncharted series, so to see her with Nadine, kicking butt, like all action, all the time.
I am so excited for that game, I didn't even watch the trailer. Because I went, the only reason I'm playing you is for the story.
You didn't want the spoilers.
No, I didn't want the I didn't even know, now I know they're kicking butt, and so that's enough spoilers for me. And then the last conference we had, except for the PC conference, which, you know, nothing really came out of that other than some XCOM DLC, and that looked good, was Nintendo. So Nintendo came out, and they give us some Kirby.
Yes, some Yoshi.
They give us some Yoshi
Love
as well.
That Yoshi game, it looks gorgeous.
They say words that they know Nintendo people will like. They say the word Pokemon, and then they show the word Metroid. And that was apparently enough for most people I've seen online to go Nintendo won E3.
Really?
Yeah, which I get. I love the Switch. I'm back on Nintendo train, baby.
I mean, the
chugga chugga, Nick boy Nintendo. So excited.
Their press conference was like 30 minutes. It was like super short.
It was super short. Kirby and Yoshi look great. Pokemon,
but quality,
sure.
not quantity, one might say.
I guess so. For me though, it's like these games are always going to come. Sure, Metroid, we haven't had a proper Metroid game in a while. I'm not a giant Metroid fanboy anyway, but it's like these games were always going to be made. Yes, of course there's going to be a Kirby game. Of course there's going to be a Yoshi game. Of course there's going to be a Pokemon game on the Switch. Why would you not make a Pokemon game for the Switch?
What did you think of Mario Odyssey?
Oh, that looks great.
It looks weird.
I want to possess tanks
looks
and
like
people.
a weird
I want
kind
to
of-
possess people with hats.
Like acid trip or something.
There's some
and that
sexy
like
Mario going on
smooth jazz underneath.
I know. There's like a La La Land moment where like they're singing at the top, looking out. It looked like
And the
LA there.
dinosaur.
Yeah, I know. Very weird. Very weird.
Crazy.
But I'm all in for that. I think that looks phenomenal.
I'm intrigued. I'm
yeah.
certainly intrigued.
But yeah, in terms of Nintendo winning E3, I'm just like, oh, right. I mean, yeah. These are the games Nintendo have. They don't really have any other games. This is all their IP. So for you say Sony.
I say Sony. Yeah.
I think I agree. Even though Sony didn't have the most surprises, in fact they barely had any surprises. I think that they probably have the most games that I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Though I think Ubisoft probably put on the best conference in terms of a performance show, bringing out some developers who cried.
I think Microsoft were very much relying on I was going to say Scorpio, but the Xbox One X.
I know.
To really be like their big play.
And then Nintendo put up a picture that says Metroid 4, and we all forget about the Xbox. It's insane. And so then finally for you, game of E3.
I mean,
Don't say Uncharted Lost Legacy.
I'm gonna say Uncharted: The Lost Legacy because I mean, that's the one that I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Even though it's DLC.
It's got to be Spider-Man. The correct answer is Spider-Man.
Oh, and Shadow of War.
The correct answer is Spider-Man.
Those two, I would say.
Spider-Man and Shadow of War?
No.
So
Uncharted:
are
The
you
Lost
excited about Spider-Man at all?
Like I am,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, you know what? That can be your thing.
That's my thing. My thing is Spider-Man. Your thing is choosing between these two games. Okay, cool. That was our E3 wrap-up. What's your game of E3? Let us know in the comments. Who won E3 besides the LA Convention Center? Let us know in the comments as well.
As always, a great time for games. Bam.
Oh, that sounded like it cracked. Oh, shit!
Come on.
It's fine.
Hello.
Does the red zone happen in 5 minutes, or is that more immediate than the circle? 5 minutes?
I found.
Oh, Steph, we really need to get out of here!